This is the Drew Experience podcast, the show that's 80% combat sports and 20% everything else. Big one today. And been wanting to get him on for a while since he's been on the scene now representing Kyokushin down under. He's my Commonwealth brother since Canada and Australia share a very interesting historical relation. He's none other than Sensei Pinto from the Kyokushin Shuffle. Oh, Sensei, welcome.
Us, mate. Thanks for your time. Thanks for having me on. Well done to you, and appreciate you making the time. Awesome. Can't wait to have a chat.
I've been so excited to have this happen, and I love what you do. Like the way you present your show, I just wanted to say, so people see it, like this is what I love about what we do, because some people say it's because of you and guys like Pinto and Scott that are really representing Kyokushin. And I want to do that because BJJ gets enough recognition. Well, let's show Kyokushin has also probably the best community that's unheard of. So that's what I want to do. And I'm hoping tonight with our conversation, we can really bring together more minds and people from all across the world.
Yeah, indeed, mate. Well done. And I look forward to it.
Awesome. So, there's a lot we want to talk about, but as mentioned, you're kind of on a very strict time schedule, and it's understandable. So I've condensed it. So, Sensei, tell us about your martial arts journey and why Kyokushin, considering Australia and New Zealand have such a rich, you had so many options of Taekwondo and other styles of karate, kickboxing. So let's go into that.
It started with my older brother when I was a little kid, like 4 years old, and he got his first trophy as a karateka, and I was 5, he was 12, and I was shattered. I didn't have a trophy, and those Bruce Lee moments, along with my big brother, it meant the world to me because, you just follow what the big bro does, right? And but then I ventured into other sports and was fortunate to play representative basketball here in Australia. And from there, I got to a point where, you either make the pros or you don't, to an extent. And in my late teens, so I turned 40 this year. When I was just about to turn 20, I was dabbling in some security work, you could say, in the nightclub scene. And my best buddies, my senpais at that time, and still at this time, from high school, said that their master was opening up their dojo, and that master happened to be Shian Bill Polly, who was under Shian Hunchi Eddie Emin here in Australia, and not knowing all that historical factor. But, we got into a little scuffle, you could say, back in our late teens with some unbeknown idiots, and my boys just represented. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to have to suss this out, as you do. And but I was venturing off the basketball scene and was really looking forward to doing something for myself, if that made sense. Not, but still part of a team, still part of that environment. And it wasn't about, I was never the student that, or the pre-student that thought, I know what Kyokushin is. I know I had nothing to do. I had no idea what it was until I entered that dojo that day in 2000.
Yeah, I could definitely, I want to also say how you said you were like closing one chapter on sports. I was the same way. I used to play hockey, because hockey is Canada's national sport. And in Australasia, it's rugby, basketball. And I was leaving hockey. I mean, I had won I wasn't ever going to be pro, but I took my that sport seriously. I won a lot of trophies. The teams we had were playing for cancer awareness. I always put together some of the best teams, but I had my foot out the door because I watched Robbie Lawler versus Rory McDonald too, and that's what got me into martial arts finally. And then I started with Taekwondo, but I felt it was very limiting. And I always wanted to do Kyokushin because of Dolph Lundgren. He was always my action hero, and
there you have it.
Yeah, and then 2016 made the jump, and the rest is history. And
I think it's always fascinating hearing. Everyone has a story, and on the Kyokushin Shuffle, highlighting the people on that merit. I start in that manner too, like you do, with just a courtesy of like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? What? Some people, 50 years, 30, 20, 10, 2 years, 5 years, irrelevant. Everyone's got a beautiful story or something that makes that path. And it brings a smile to everyone's faces, doesn't it? Because some can relate to it and some kind of go, oh, right. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I'm sure you have your reasons to being a teacher. For me, I was recently on a hiatus of fighting because, my coach, I don't know. Look, I don't want to boost his ego, but he did the best thing that ever happened. When I won my last trophy in 2019, I wasn't working in a good job with benefits. And he's like, I want you to take a break until you get into a job with health benefits if you get hurt. So when I got into one of the job I have now, it's one of Canada's biggest phone companies I work for with benefits. Last night I put the post up, hey, as Michael Jordan says, I'm back. I have the green light. And when we go back to some form of normalcy, I have a reason to fight. And you said, it's that storyline, you know, I have someone dear to me who's terminally ill right now. And if they can do what they're doing to keep fighting every day, I mean, I want to fight for them. And also for also children who are on the spectrum, because we have a mutual friend, shout out to Mel Noble, who works with autistic children. Yeah, she was, I really wanted to give her a shout out. And I'm also on the spectrum. I was telling her, and mildly, you can't tell. And I want to be a representative to special needs kids. And yeah,
it's a powerful thing when you know your why, brother. And when you know your why, get out of the way. And well done to you.
Thank you. And, you know, I really want to just say, you know, I love how you do the show. I know I said it at the beginning, but I mean, I also want to give a shout out. I want to also ask you, why is it that has Australasia, New Zealand, and Australia such a rich history in kickboxing? Yeah, I like, because here's why. Israel Adesanya was on Joe Rogan's show, and City Kickboxing, Eugene Berriman, maybe you know him or heard of him. He said he said there's a history to why you guys are so rich in kickboxing history, you know, and no one really knows about it. So I want to hear it in your words. Why is it that tradition so rich?
You know, my take on it is via my Xi'an and via the history of speaking to people over the last 20 years of combat here in Australia. We've got a strong history because from the mid 90s, and again, for anyone that's watching this pre the 90s, yeah, there is a building of it. You know, there's a building of the foundation, but it all triggered nicely with the makings of Stan the Man Longinides, who became 10-time, 11-time world kickboxing champion. And from then you grew into a lad called Sam Slam Greco. And then you continue on and get the likes of John Wayne Parr, 10-time world champion again in Muay Thai / kickboxing. Then you produce another lad called Nathan Carnage Corbett, and 10-time world, you know, just massive figures in the combat scene in Australia that continued. There was no gap. And the flow of it and the promotion cards here in Australia are sensational. You know, very professionally run, good promoters with good intentions as such. You know, where my dojo is here in Melbourne, I'm part of Hammer's Gym, and Hammer has Mark Castanini is his name, and he's been a part of combat sports on Fox Sports. So he was an integral part of putting the Fox Sports card on pay TV, you know, the subscription model here in the 90s and 2000s. And from that, we produced a lad called Michael Chavello, The Voice, you know, who does one championship and just won. Congratulations to The Voice. He just won Best Broadcaster again in, you know, so we've got all these personalities and figures. And then on top of that, I was fortunate to work for a company called Blitz Publication, and that publication produced Blitz Martial Arts, which is a very, very popular martial art magazine in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And then that also produced a magazine called International Kickboxer. So all of a sudden, the scene becomes so dominant because you have all these type of platforms that have allowed these figures to be shown to the public and, you know, recognized like, you know, idols as such. So from my take, that's a flow of it in a nice, easy way of putting it together. And then let's, you know, from a kickboxing angle, then put a circle around that and then talk all martial arts. And then you've got the likes of, you know, professional movie actors that we had here, you know, that Richard Norton, who just broke into Jackie Chan movies, and he's best mates with Chuck Norris. And I had him on the shuffle, meaning, you know, just a representation of, you know, that scene, movies and those types of, you know, angles. And then it goes into, like I said, and it's just unbelievable history here in Australia.
It's really unheard of, and that's why I wanted to really bring it out, because I was talking with some other Australian practitioners that we have mutual followers. One of them is he's followed on one Kyokushin. He's coming up. His name is Nasser Kasab. Guys, if you want to look at his technique. Oh my God, guys, go on one Kyokushin. Look up Nasser Kasab, up and comer. What have you? And apparently you guys know each other. Like he says, he doesn't.
Oh, very much.
What do you think he has that makes him that's going to make him successful?
Oh, okay. So Nasser's he's our top Australian young talent by far. 2-time Australian champion, Kyokushin under the guidance of Xian Maria and Peter Rich, and then under Xian Judd Reid of late, and now trains with Nick Curra. Again, that's another personality figure that highlighted in kickboxing as well, who was in Ong Bak and played one of the scenes there. So, Nasser has exceptional. Brains. He's very smart. He's very intellectually smart, combat-wise. And then you complement that with his skills, and then you complement it with the people that are around him. Hey, you got a sweet package, and he is, next world champ. There's no doubt about it. So what is 2021?
He's so raw.
Yeah, and for us here, he has the beautiful gift of Kyokushin. He's a Shodan in Kyokushin. Then he's trained with the likes of Nick Curra and Xian Judd Reid, who have complemented that discipline and etiquette of the karateka into now, putting a nice little bow around striking to the face and complementing all his arsenals and his assets. So yeah, he's fantastic.
Definitely one of the brighter futures. And when it comes to that, like, do you believe now with like technology? Because think of what you do and what I do. Do you think eventually we could see Kyokushin have kind of like a renaissance with like in leagues such as Glory, kickboxing, karate combat? Because here's something I'm going to tell you: karate combat does not have a single Kyokushin practitioner. I think it's a farce. It's my opinion. And Nero, right? Nero, the guy on Nero MMA. Yeah. He was offered a contract, and they didn't sign him for whatever reason. And I just think if we open that floodgate, we know what's going to happen when Kyokushin comes into karate combat. Not to sound biased.
No. This is why it's awesome to chat like this, and this is what's needed. Opinions and thoughts and views, because the platforms that we have had in the past have been far and few, and that was a big push as to why I started the Shuffle and what you're doing now, having a chat with a lad in Australia. You're on the top of the planet, or I'm on the bottom of the planet. I think that's unbelievable and awesome, and just to share that on that level, how my Xian and his Xian, to keep the relationships with their peers in the 80s, 90s, and they all had to just fly to Japan or meet in Canada or meet in Japan, and that was their form of communication. Now we can send a Zoom link and a Skype link, and it's one click, right? And it's unbelievable. So we got to take that more to an advantage. But from what you mentioned, karate combat, Glory, and those things, it's a beautiful topic to discuss in all positive ways, right? And that's how I see things with where we're at and my generation as such, and the likes of Xian Terry Burkett, Darren Stringer, Wesley Jensen, those lads from those different continents who are and putting them, and many more, Xian Teneo in Spain. I can go on for hours, right? And so could you. But what I'm getting at is everyone now is taking the risk or taking the initiative to put themselves out there. For certain years, let's say 10 years until YouTube had its way of communicating and people understanding it, and now Zoom with due to COVID and so on, we all know how to work these things. Or our generation. I mean, you wait till you start getting a hold of some of the respectfully the older Xians, who are like never touched a computer, don't know how to turn Zoom on, wouldn't know how, and you're just there and you got to help them. A lot of my time is spent helping these masters, just to, gently take the next step. So we have these platforms now. So to get to this karate combat into this, let's use the word for argument's sake, this sport way of looking at it, entertainment way of looking at it with UFC, Glory, and so on. We got to step up. I think it's we in Kyokushin have to step up. We say we're the strongest karate. We say we're the strongest in full contact karate. And whether things are holding us back, organizations and things like that, of course, we don't know the back end of it. But either way, We all have to step up. We, you know, when Sosai was in the picture in the early, you know, in all those years, 70s, 80s, 90s, he pushed everyone. He made everyone meet up to his level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, if he sat here, then everyone stays there. But he kept going and going and going. And, you know, you talk to, you know, the Shian Cameron Quinn, for example, who was the translator for Sosai and is here in the Gold Coast in Australia. You know, everything he says is just another level and another level for what Sosai was always preaching. So if you weren't willing to, you know, expand this or do this or be that next world tour, you know, he's saying was via even Shian Jad Reed and these lads that have won world tournaments is to now complement it with a 100-man kumite. You know, those feats, and, you know, we're at the forefront of those fighters, whereas at the forefront of Filio, Globe, Nicolas Pettis, these absolute legends, because look at the level they were at compared to, and I'm not disowning anyone, I'm trying to keep everything positive here, is if we're missing something in those sectors or in those avenues, we all have to put our hand up and go, yeah, well, who's stepping up? That's how I see it.
Same. I think you and I are, and, you know, I just want to say it. I mean, based on, it's only like 10 minutes I've spoken to you, and I already feel like you and I are going to really have like a good friendship after this, because I love the relationships I formed, whether it's with Darren Stringer, Wesley Jensen, and now you. Like, I already feel Pat's my guy. And I mean, you're my Commonwealth cousin, man, you know, Australia, Canada. I also want to ask you, I have a story for you, because you said Globe Feitosa. So what if I told you that my coach almost fought Globe Feitosa in Brazil back in 2014, came out of retirement for a last hurrah, so of sorts. And you know how brackets work. So he was on the same bus as Globe, and some people said, and, you know, when I told the story, some have said, well, Globe is a monster. I said, well, my coach is also a pretty big guy too. And that's the one fight I wish we could have got, because that would have been Canada. It would have been, and I'm relating it to MMA here. So this analogy is, I would relate it to the John Jones versus Vitor Belfort, because it was the past. We know Globe's name, how much impact he carries. And then we have my coach, who in Canada, his name's Mohamed Chik, for those who want to follow him. Momo Kyoku won. Mo almost fought him, and it's the fight I wish we could have got. I think it would have been great. I mean, what's your take on Globe? Because he was coming up in your era too.
Look, you know, I'm from, my parents are from Chile, and
really?
I speak, so I speak Spanish. I'm purebred Aussie to an extent, but so what I can relate to is the South American flavor, if that makes sense. So I have that in my blood via Chile, and then obviously Brazil's next door to Chile and Argentina and so on. And my point to that is, I kept a close eye on the cousins across the ditch, if you get what I mean. But with Globe, and again, anyone in that era, it was, you know, they set the scene. Again, go back to standards or go back to whatever you want to see it. You know, they had such a powerful organization. You had a beautiful circuit of tournaments going through, you know, and it all equaled out. And then you get the likes of, you know, Ichigeki, who produced these K1 lads. And again, another cool circuit and another focus and attention. And you continue to just raise the standards and lift that level up. So when you've got the gift of Globe, Filio, and these legends, and then they can continue doing this as a profession full time, well, there you have it. There you have it. You know, you get beautiful, you know, everything.
It's crazy how, like, he basically perfected the question mark kick for Kyokushin, and he's like a big guy, and you look at him, and it's like, a guy that big, how does he do that kick? And it's like, it's art. It's art. You watch, there's a video of Globe Feitosa highlights. I encourage everyone to watch it. If you want to learn how to do Mashowi Gary, that I always mispronounce the kick. I've been on a hiatus, but that question mark kick is art. Another question I have for you is, because I wanted to ask this, now MMA is also growing in Australia, and what has that been like with the guys like Robert Whitaker, Megan Anderson, Tai Tuivasa, and Israel Adesanya? Right now, do you feel is leading the scene in Australian combat sports for you guys?
It's a good point, and you're covering some good stuff here from all levels, because it typifies where Australia, we kind of get seen as the lads down there, down under, right? With only 25 million people here, and just in Victoria, Melbourne alone, we were allowed MMA, UFC in the cage in 2017. Okay,
Whoa.
I hope that kind of registers in people's heads. Prior to that, it was in a boxing ring, right? So now here we have the biggest card in the UFC history at that time, where we got Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm to fight it out, and devastatingly, Holly Holm does a Jordan Mawashigiri on a striker's level and knocks out the best female fighter at that time. So 2 months, 3 months, 6 months prior to 2017, it is against all means that it should be here in Melbourne, Australia. The public here were against it heavily. Government, you name it, get it out of here. It shouldn't even be here. In come all the legends, pioneers, the ones that are at the forefront, and having to turn the language, I call it, switch the language around. Hold on a minute. There is so much more that this gives to the community. There is so much more. And we slowly started to balance out the language of the negative to the positive. And then from 2017, it opened, it just, that event just went unbelievable, and the regulation of a cage was allowed. So now we got the flavor and the hype and the stick, that awesome momentum of gyms here in Australia / academies, dojos and so forth, that can now complement their kickboxing with an area for MMA, can complement their BJJ area with MMA, can complement karate, and these smart entrepreneurs, business operators started to understand, well, yeah, obviously that's a part where it's heading. And then it's kind of like, okay, who's going to coach everyone? We kind of didn't have that level. But in answering that part, I wanted to give everyone an indication of, it's only been 2 or 3 popular years, at its peak. And now we've got Volkanovski, champion. Rob Whittaker, champion. We've had a taste of so many Aussies. Jimmy Crute having a crack, who's Sam Greco's student. Jake Matthews, who's, we've got names. And prior to that, Kyle, really cool guys that were paving the way nicely for us, but couldn't even train in a cage here. So they were training with Jackson Winkle, Kyle Noak, and those types of guys prior to. So point is, Volkanovski can walk down Sydney, Melbourne, go to the shop, no problem. I guarantee you 99% of the people here in Australia wouldn't even know who he is. If he bumped into me, I'd go, oh, hold on a sec, that's a champ. It's a UFC champ. Rob Whittaker, I'll give him, respectfully, this is all respectfully, because I know who they are. But again, you could, my best mate's Joe Ingles from the NBA, right? He plays for the Utah Jazz. Now, I take him to the Aussie Rules football game, and he's 6'8". Yep, he stands out. Oh, yep, that's him. Take a combat athlete out with me. They don't know. People don't know what's going on. It's very raw. It's still very raw.
Still in that infancy, because it's only 25. It's only 27 years ago. And here's a fun fact for you: the first ever UFC. Not many people know this. The first ever fight wasn't Roy Hoist Gracie. It was Gerard Gordeau, Kyokushin with Savat, but he said he was Savat versus Taylor Tooley. But it was a nice homage to Kyokushin. I think people should know that.
Oh, yeah. And, and you just raising it again, this is part of why we do these chats and have these shows, and you're on to really good things here, mate, because it's reminding people, or it's just, giving everyone a window to kind of go, oh, right. Is that true? Is it, and had he had won, who could, back to would it have been as big as what jiu-jitsu was when Hoist did what he did, and you can play that game, Well, imagine he had won, or had done a Mawashi, or just continued on with all those beautiful striking techniques. And back then there was no rules, hey? So it was some pretty brutal stuff.
Oh, it was the first UFC was like a train wreck. No one knew what was going on. It was like watching blood sport with in real life. And I think one documentary people should watch with that is the ESPN 30 for 30. You should try to find it, Chuck and Tito, because we all look at Conor McGregor. We all look at Izzy Adesanya, Volkanovski, Khabib. But if you want to understand where MMA got, everyone, I've said it again, please take the time to look at that Chuck and Tito, because it explains how the Iceman came up and how Tito Ortiz came up and why they were so important in that early stage of like the early 2000s.
Indeed, yeah, yeah. So yeah, MMA here, buddy, is we're not even scratching the surface, mate. We're going to continue to produce, and I say we, combat wise, we're going to continue to produce absolute weapons, because we have just started to gain more knowledge. And this season, if I can just share it on my podcast, I'm focusing more on coaches, you know. So I've been blessed and fortunate to have shared last year's episodes with students, teachers, and masters around certain areas, and I'll continue to do that like you are. But the coaching wise here, because now our pedigree has grown immensely. That those coaches now have been previously in UFC, contracted by UFC, or contracted in One Championship, or Sam Greco now, who was in Pride and all those, you know, massive things. He's now coaching. So those lads are slowly, you know, turning their students into some unbelievable talent.
Yeah, totally. I think you're doing a great job when I saw that, because it's easy to talk to the fighter, but let's talk to the brains, the architecture, the artist. Who's the one that's making that fighter get to where he is? It's always the strategy. It's a game of chess, and you want the chess players to hear what they have to say.
Well, my passion is coaching. Now, you know, 20 years in Kyokushin, and when I got my third dan in 2017, you know, I stopped fighting in 2016, and I went on a 16-year straight competition. You know, I just had the right body, I had the right mindset, I had the right everything working for me, my coach, my team, and I didn't stop until 2016, and it was my third world tournament, and I was kind of like a wild card in the Kyokushin world tournament there, and I was training one of my guys and a female fighter, and I was just spent. I got them through their first round or two, and I was thinking, you know, positively, I'm fine, I'm good, I'll be fine. And then I had my second child come through during that period, and it was just, you know, very, very busy times. But my point to it was, I knew I was going to transition to coaching with my basketball pedigree, and my mentors my mentors are still coaching as such professionally in the leagues, and I keep very close to them because of that relationship. And I just love that. Even with my Shian today, you know, we're on a more of a coaching level than a student teacher level where we're trying to build. And so from there, you know, and sport here in Melbourne is very Melbourne/Australia even is huge in regards to football, rugby, the team orientated sports, and the coaches are former greats of the game and former this of the game. And in martial arts, I was like, hold on a minute. We've got that too. Again, another scenario where we've got to lift our level, raise our standards, get them out there and highlight them as much as we can. And the passion of coaching for me is, again, that side of what Kyokushin and martial arts, again, you know, you've got so much, and they say, you know, when you get into a second or third dan or even above, for those out there, you've got so much to offer. You've got so much to offer. And if you're holding it back, you know, it's a detriment, because I think of what Sosai was doing. Straight away, I think of what Sosai was doing. He was sharing Kyokushin and building more and more and more people to put it out there, to get it out there, to lift the level, raise the standards, all the above, you know. Uchideshis, go and build your branch over in this territory, this country. I mean, phenomenal stuff, right? And to do that, the ownership and accountability and sacrifices we're not just in a fighting means, was in a shit, I've got 30 students, 50 students, 100 students to be responsible of now. Oh, not only that, you know, 10% of them are fighters. The other 90%, maybe another 10 might be in kata or 15, but then there's traditionally, well, I can't talk on behalf of all other dojos, I shouldn't be, but not all, you know, 50 students in my dojo across kids and adults, 10%, you know, I've got 10 fighters. 3 of them are at the elite, brown and above, top in Australia, and then 4 to 7, you know, the white belt, blue belt, yellow belt, green belt. And that passion of mine and knowing how to transition these lads from, you know, and you can vouch for it. You walk into a dojo, and then all of a sudden, 6 months into it, 2 years into it, you're bigger, you're stronger, you're mentally tougher, and now you got to put it together in some way. I love that stuff.
Oh, when I got my green belt, that was the greatest. So when I got so I left my old school at a green belt because I have my reasons. So I had my tournament. So uh, they asked me, do you want to fight with your yellow belt or your green belt? And me, ready. I've been training for that tournament since January of 2019. 4 a.m. wake up, stair runs, you name it, weightlifting, going to see my coach for one-on-ones, getting the crap kicked out of me. So they asked me, do you want to fight with your yellow belt or green belt? And I'm like, give me the green belt. I said, I want to show that even though I got it, I said, give me the black belt, give me the brown belt. I said, I'm not going in there to make it easy. I said, I'm going to make it a war. And won second place. And, as mentioned, it was my most meaningful trophy because we talk about using motivation and why we have our why. And I was going through like a lot of personal trauma at that point, just like depression and like some very bad mental illness. And my coach after said, shout out to Mo. He's like, you got to use this as a platform. He's like, you've overcome so much. And that's when I just started opening up about like everything, like, being on the spectrum and, hiding it and how that self-destruction, I could go on about it. But the point is, it's like, I want people when they hear this, if you have a student or anyone else, who has students who have like mental challenges, you can change. You can use this as a tool to develop your potential. It's not to sound cliche. Look at me. I have a podcast. I'm able to communicate. You find ways. This is what I love about Kyokushin. You find who you are. You really do.
Yeah. It's the ultimate truth. And again, we got to put that at the forefront of people's minds, and, I test the kids at 4 years old, who's that gentleman up on the wall, and some are looking at me and they got to understand this immediately. And even my kohai, my Shian and his Shian. And that instills, immediately the purpose they're here or the reason behind it. And there's heaps of factors, that support that. So well done to you on all that, mate. Well done.
Oh yeah. So I wanted to ask you, we all have our favorite fighters in Kyokushin. So when you were growing up, like, I would say MMA, but because this is a Kyokushin themed podcast, who are two of your favorite fighters to watch growing up in Kyokushin?
Beautiful. Kazumi, Hajime Kazumi. We had, there's no way I'm comparing myself to him, but the style was something that suited me perfectly. I'm 5'10", I was about 84, 85 kilos. My hands were better than my legs, and away we went. And luckily my master had been in those world tournaments where Kazumi was in them and all the above. And, we got to work pretty quickly after from about yellow green belt here in Australia. You progress after that into, open for brown. And, I was fortunate on that level that, have a look at all the content that we can see of Hajime Kazumi now compared to maybe 2003 or 4. That's not a long time ago, but that's just showing, it was very difficult to find that kind of stuff. And even when I went to Japan my first time in 2004, we bought a VHS of Kazumi's, and it cost 100 Australian dollars, not cheap at all. Yeah. So, Kazumi definitely, deep down, lost 2 world tournaments, won a number of all Japan tournaments. But again, it's the style that I love the most. I call it fridge. He's just a fridge. He's just no emotion, and just hard as nails. And he was fantastic there. And the next one, you get a bit of Aussie flavor around it. Number 2 in a way, we've all got someone that may be the same type of height or level, but for me, it was I started grasping off everyone, and I got to train with Shian Judd Reed in a way. My Shian had a massive influence. He was in the heavyweight, Judd's heavyweight. Gary O'Neill had his flavor of footwork. Wally Chanel had his style of aggression. And they were way before my time in a way. Judd and I were in the 2008 Australian representative team, but he was on another level of his capacity. I was a rookie in that team. So from 2008 to 2016, who you see all these different fighters, and you start to understand more when you go to world tournaments and World Cups. And, you know, the only bit I never got to do was fight in Europe. But I got to see them, you know, good friends with all the boys you were talking about earlier and many more. I got to fight Sensei Jonathan Tennell. And he was number 2 in the world. He was twice runner-up after Takuma Shian in the whatever, you know, all these group All Japan Union. But I got to fight him in the second round. And my point to that is I hadn't had a European flavor in my fighting pedigree, like I hadn't, and then until that tournament. And that he taught me another side of strength and power. So I grabbed off everyone, and then he became a bit of my favorite fighter because I lost to him in the second round, and it was just by pure just toughness. And then you train with Xian Judd, who was just, when he was preparing for his 100-man kumite in 2011. I watched that
documentary. Oh my God, what a beautiful documentary.
Yeah. And then, you know, he's, you know, just you know, touching him as such in regards to when he would hit, I was like, what is that? It was like an armor. He had muscle, then he had an armor of all the conditioning and work that he did. And you're like, oh my Lord. Then you can spar with my Xian, who was, you know, mid-40s, late 50 or mid-50, late 40s at the time. And he just focuses in on 2 Gira Mawashis on the spot, on your thigh. A cocky kid, you know, moving around during a grading, and he just goes bang, bang, like 2 bites, shark bites, boom, boom, and you're done. You know, you can't move that leg for a week. And what I'm sharing with everyone is you can have, I've got a favorite, but then it just, I grab him off everyone.
It's like that for me too. Like for me, my favorite fighter is Brazilian Andrews Nakahara, who, he was on my first show because I had another podcast, Beautiful. But then it burned out. And Andrews is such an inspiration to me because he's very tall, like me, 5'11", 6 foot, but he's very he uses his leg kicks, and I like using my leg kicks. So he's an inspiration. And so shout out to Andrews Nakahara in Brazil doing amazing things. And I would have to say for others, it culminates, but I really like Sam Greco. Sam Greco is such, oh my, guy's a tank. He's like a tank, man. Just fought the best of the best, and now he's doing great in MMA. So yeah, that's some guy. That's another one that I'd really also love to pick the brain of. Like, and he's really a favorite of mine. But it's just so beautiful. It's art. You might have heard of him, Darman Sadanoskov, he's from Perm, Russia. He's one of them Russians.
Yeah,
my coach fought him, and he said it was this was when it was he was under IKO 1, and Darman was like the Robert Duran of Kyokushin, like hands of stone. I like Tariel, Sensei Tariel. I can't pronounce his surname. I just call him. He's Georgian.
Okay, so he won the IKO 1, and you know, he was shorter than me, strong as hell. And just, you know, a great fighter as well. You know, I like that style as well. Very, very forward, under, aggressive, moving in and out. Didn't give an inch. Pressure. You know, there's all these different ways as well. Indeed.
That's crazy. Yeah, I agree. So you've also written a book, and I really want to commend you on that. It's really good. And I mean, I haven't bought it, but I want to promote it because it's great what you're doing. You're just bringing it up. As we say, we're bringing the art up. And I know it's only an ebook. Is there going to be maybe a hard copy soon, or what's the plan for that?
Yeah, no hard copy as yet. And there's no reason behind that. It was more just to continue the flow of what I'm doing and not hold things back and just go, you know, like publishing and all these issues that, you know, that come with it, amongst having a wife, 3 kids, 2 dojos, and all the above. So no, the ebook was easy, simple, amazing support. Thank you to all that have purchased it. It's, you know, on a website for all. And what it was is 13 questions I put together that of the guests that were on my show. And then I highlighted certain questions like, you know, what's your favorite quote? What's your favorite book? Who would you have at your dinner party? What 4 martial artists would you? And just so fascinating. Where would you be without martial arts? What would you tell an up and coming Shodan? What's the best advice you would give to? And all these different minds had amazing answers, hundreds and hundreds of years of knowledge. I knew that I couldn't capture it all in 1 hour podcast or etc. But I had to try and find a way to continue the flow of others going, oh, wow, is that out there? So forever the student, I appreciate you bringing that up. And then, next is going to be forever the coach.
I love promoting what people do. I mean, there's enough success. There's enough slices of pie to go around. I live in abundance, and that's what I want to do. Like as mentioned, like if people want to listen to your podcast from my show, please, subscribe to the Kyokushin Shuffle. If people want to listen, yeah, I'm always gonna promote. I like sharing. I mean, you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Well done. Yeah,
and
good on you.
I know you're short on time, but wow, quality interview.
I'm all right for another. I'm all right for another 10, buddy. All good.
Oh, perfect.
Excuse everyone out there, just plenty on.
Yeah. Okay. So perfect. So one other thing is, what's the plan for Kyokushin Shuffle? Like, where do you see it heading? Because it's kind of entered in the second phase now. It's like you're really going like the stock market.
Yeah, mate. Because again, back to my why in it, and I haven't openly shared this to many, and I don't try to do it via my podcast, but times changed quickly here in Australia mid-March. I was in Canada, brother, in March. I was in Vancouver with my family. We have family up there, and we were in Portland, Oregon in February this year. And we spent some time there with my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, and the kids and I and the 3 kids, my beautiful wife, we went up, and we had a great time. And then we're starting to see toilet paper coming off shops. We're starting to see shit going everywhere, and we're like, what's going on back home? This is chaos. Stuff's happening. I land back into Melbourne mid-March, ready with a new job, a new role, ready to go. And I was going to be starting 2 days later. And I'm a sales director in media advertising, IT. And, big responsibility in respective, in the city, an hour away from home, back and forth, trying to continue everything, sustain the livelihood of my family. And then I was probably maybe up to 10 episodes of the Shuffle. And it was just a fun passion project, I called it. And lo and behold, Melbourne is shut down, and not in a, hey, just take it easy. You're shut down. You can't move for 2 weeks. So I've got 3 kids, 6, 3, or at the time 6, 4, and 1, and my wife and I, no jobs. We're done. We have no income coming in. We had nothing happening. The dojo shut, which was our side hobby passion on it. We are, a part of a network marketing business called Isogenics here in Australia, and it's in Canada as well. And then all of a sudden, and the reason I bring that up is for anyone that's listening on that angle, is because we were effed. We were down the bottom, and coming off a X amount of dollars being spent in America and coming back. So we were told, you're not allowed to move out of your homes, and we're all going through it. And I bless everyone out there, and keep hitting your heads up high and staying positive. But we couldn't move for nearly 6 months. And then it got to a point where we could only move 5 kilometers out of our radius. And then it got to a point where you could only go to the shop 1 person out of the family. It was tough. 2020 was shit. And my point to it was, the Shuffle gave me therapeutic everything. I had someone to speak to. I could bounce off. My energy would come up, and my beautiful wife supported me with it, because I had nothing. We did not know what we could do. And the reason I bought Isogenics up is because now we've built our business into a company called Wellness Movement 201, and I'm helping sharing the nutritional side of what this company does, because I'd have my fighters, my clients, my one-on-one clients, and everyone taking these products. Without the Shuffle, without Wellness Movement, which is our business via Isogenics, and now we help everyone around the world. I can help any dojo in the countries that we have, across 20 countries. Canada is one of them. And I can help your dojo build another form of revenue without having to have stock in here, without having to worry about invoicing and billing and all this. And it's been the best thing possible. The Shuffle and the Wellness Movement, to an extent now where I'm not going back to work. It was bloody tough to tell my wife, and we've had many discussions in going, am I going back to an X amount of figure income? No. So I've put everything into it, brother, towards the Shuffle, the ebook. I've got an app coming out so people around the world can just subscribe per month, and we can train together in a way. I've got training programs in there, complementing now your nutritional and your mindset on things. And it's so lucky, so blessed that in November, we were 0 cases for 20, 30 days. And now away we go, dojo open and all these things. And oh man, so the shuffle kept going. I got to use it every week. And then I was using the business to help promote it and sponsor it and give me, again, a little bit of income. But now our business has just doubled because we're helping we helped over 100 people with their weight transformation and all these above. And then now we're going for 201 in 2021. And that's why now the shuffle near that block in the middle of the year, late last year, was something where I could go full steam ahead, as I call it. And then I sat over Christmas, mate, and I thought, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to share it with you. I'm sharing it with you now. I said, I'm not sure if I'll keep doing it. I'm just, in a bit of a, we're doing so well with other things. I wanted to open another dojo here in Melbourne, which I've done. And then I was like, I don't know. And then people were asking me, when's the next one? What's happening? So I gave 3 Christmas presents to people: Xian Cameron Quinn, Hunchi Tino Sobrano, and Richard Norton, 3 massive figures in Australian martial arts and in the world. And I, boom, had a full stop to it. And then I thought, if people keep supporting me with the ebook and liking that, then that'll help me continue on and give me that, and as you know, and to share it with others, from another podcaster to this lad here, it's not as easy as, oh, Pat's there. Bang, perfect. Oh, how's it going? The text messaging, the time that you're staying up late to help benefit me at this moment. And, long story short, the shuffle is going forward. We're going hard. I'm going for the stars. And I suggest you continue to do the same thing as well. Get whoever you want, and it's your thing, and aim for the stars, mate. Because if you aim for the stars, no, mate, keep going. You can keep going. You can keep going.
My dream guest is John Bones Jones, and someone laughed at me, and I said,
nah, bullshit.
Here's the best part, okay? So I had some doubters in Kyokushin, and I don't want to give I'm not going to give them the shine. I'm a bit of a petty guy when I say this, but I got some big names coming on. When I get them on, it's going to be the biggest
Fantastic.
fuck you to the ones that said, he couldn't do it. And they're going to ask, how did you do what I want? Yeah. So that's why.
And I love your passion on it, but on that level as well, it's you, mate. It's you. What you with me as well. I've got 50 emails coming through every fortnight, 20 every week. This person, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And in respect of that, go for what you're trying to do here, mate. Go for what you're trying to achieve. And if the rest are acknowledging it, fantastic. And the others that don't, you snooze, you lose. And that's our Aussie way of putting it. And keep going for it, mate. And likewise with what I'm doing, I was, same with you. So you got John Bones Jones. I want Jackson Winklejohn, or I want John Kavanagh, and those Faraz Sahabi. Give it, even if it's 5 minutes, but I'll continue to do that. And again, lift the bar up and see how we go.
Exactly, man. Honestly, you know what? I feel after tonight, I feel like we kind of have kind of like a bond from a distance. But listen, I'm coming to Australia someday soon, and you come to Canada, I'll tell, if you come to Quebec, Montreal, Quebec, the Kyokushin hotspot of GSP and whatnot, I'll show you around. You're always welcome here with you and your family. And let's do this again, man. And you know what? Next time, let's try to bring on Mel, because she wanted to really talk about autism with karate. But I said, look, let me get to break the ice with Patrick first, just to make sure, because I want to make sure we kind of get to know each other. But hey,
no problem.
Let's do this again, man, whether it's me and you or someone else. And where can people connect with you? Because I want to make sure people can follow you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, so mine's Instagram and Facebook. So at Sensei Pat Pinto, at Kumite Fit, or at the Kyokushin Shuffle, and at the Kumite Martial Arts Academy. So they're my 4 babies as such. But no problem at all. Anyone that's following this show as well and supporting you, and when flights happen and all the above, and your courtesy in that manner is that Kyokushin camaraderie and brotherhood, sisterhood. That is just unbelievable, isn't it? Doesn't matter. Get your butt down here, get your gi on. I'm in Melbourne. I'm 20 minutes from the CBD. And when flights and shit, clear up and you're happy to come to anyone, likewise, and I know it's not just around the corner, brother. It's quite a trek expect to come down under. But, you know we're here, and I appreciate your time, and continue, mate. And when I saw your message come through, I felt the other way, you know. I felt, is this what it also feels like? You know, and yes, I've been invited on other shows, but I was also on a pretty busy level. But, you know, right now, right after this, I've got my podcast to do in the dojo.
Yeah.
So keep up the great work, mate. Well done. And never stop, you know, don't never stop, meaning do what you're doing, continue to do what you're doing, and reach out to me anytime, to all your listeners.
Yeah, exactly. If you ever want to connect with me, guys, in Australia, look up Drew Nomad 7 Instagram, Drew Michaels on Facebook, Drew Experience Pod on Instagram. Those are my 3 babies. And this episode will be on all platforms and whatnot. So once again, Sensei Patrick Pinto of Australia, from down under, my Commonwealth cousin. Thanks again, man. Awesome. This was amazing.
My pleasure, mate. Keep up the great work. And to everyone out there, stay safe, keep training hard, and the ultimate truth, try and find it. Well done, everyone. Us.